Around Kansas, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
And we're back again. Good morning. This is Around Kansas. And, you know, Kansas is full of lots of interesting people and great athletes, one of them being Walter Johnson.
You know, what an amazing story. And, I've always said baseball players, of course, I grew up as a real baseball fan, more so than any other sport. I guess it was accessible. You know, kids were always playing baseball. You can just pick up a game of baseball anywhere. So that's the one I grew up as a bigger fan of than any other sport. So, Kansas has produced some pretty incredible baseball players.
Yeah, in fact, this one was one of the first to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, anyway, let's take a look. Few names loom larger in baseball lore than that of Ty Cobb. Universally acknowledged as one of the greatest players ever, he was a larger-than-life character with enough ego for the whole team. Few things daunted him, yet this was his account of a game his Detroit Tigers were playing against the Washington Nationals. On August 2nd, 1907, I encountered the most threatening sight I ever saw on the ball field. He was a rookie, and we licked our lips as we warmed up for the first game of a doubleheader in Washington. Evidently, manager Pongo Joe Cantillon of the Nats had picked a rube out of the cornfields of the deepest bushes to pitch against us. He was a tall, shambling galoot about 20, with arms so long they hung far out of his sleeves, and with a sidearm delivery that looked unimpressive at first glance. One of the Tigers imitated a cow mooing, and we hollered at Cantillon, "Hey, get the pitchfork ready, Joe. Your hayseed's on his way back to the barn." The first time I faced him, I watched him take that easy wind-up, and then something went past me that made me flinch. The thing just hissed with danger. We couldn't touch him. Every one of us knew we'd met the most powerful arm that ever turned loose in a ballpark. The hayseed with the powerful arm was Walter Johnson, a farm boy who was born near Humboldt, Kansas in 1887. He was 14 when the family moved to Orange County, California, where the oil boom was in full swing. He played high school baseball and was playing for a team in Idaho's State League when a talent scout spotted him and signed him to a major league contract. He was 19. His fastball was, and still is, legendary, clocked at more than 90 miles an hour. His unique sidearm delivery was difficult for batters to follow. He set dozens of records, many of which stood for decades, and a few remain unbroken. Johnson's record total of 3,508 strikeouts stood for more than 55 years until Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton, and Gaylord Perry all surpassed it in 1983. Johnson, as of 2014, ranks 9th on the all-time strikeout list, but his total must be understood in its proper context. Among his pre-World War II contemporaries, his closest competitor was Cy Young, who was 700 strikeouts behind him. In the win column, Cy Young comes in first with 511, but Johnson is second with 417 wins. Johnson was one of the 5 immortals, the first players elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1936, along with Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner. Johnson's gentle nature was legendary, and to this day, he is held up as an example of good sportsmanship, while his name has become synonymous with friendly competition. Johnson died of a brain tumor at the age of 59 and is buried in Maryland. A baseball field in Humboldt, Kansas, and a park in Coffeyville are named in his honor. Another great story about people from Kansas, around Kansas.